This is a Power 98.7 podcast. Now we're talking. Subscribe to Power 98.7 podcasts in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. There's more on power987.co.za.
Stay connected with the latest news across your world. Power 98.7. Now we're talking.
All right, it's 1950 here in Power Business. Move on now to a conversation about artificial intelligence in business. Now, AI is no longer just a buzzword. It's become a transformative force, reshaping industries, enhancing efficiencies, and driving innovation. Right now, we'll look at the role of AI or artificial intelligence in the business world. It is a rather bold one, but I know Johan will bring us back. He's AI expert, and he joins us on the line now. Johan Steyn. Johan, a pleasure. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having me.
Now, Johan, 2024 has been the year of AI as a market theme, a big AI boom in the market. But we're trying to bring it back home here. When we think of AI, do we still understand what we're speaking about?
Yeah, no, look, I think it's in the past, I call it in the pre-ChatGPT era. People were very afraid of it, didn't know much. I think Hollywood movies accurately told us what it was. Now it's the post-ChatGPT era. Everyone is an AI expert. Everyone can prompt. But most people I deal with on a daily basis still greatly misunderstands this kind of technology. They think it's just automation, or it's going to take all of our jobs. I mean, there's so many different narratives, but the misunderstanding is huge in the world that I deal with.
I really want to speak about the issue of jobs. I think in South Africa, that's a real, fear here. And of course, that stems from the fact that we already have a market that's an economy that's battling to create new jobs here. When we say that AI won't take jobs, Johan, what are we saying will happen to people and their ability to meaningfully participate in the economy as laborers and workers?
Yeah. Look, I think AI will probably take a lot of jobs, but what kind of jobs is it? Is it just is it blue collar, white collar? I mean, there's so many different debates around it. And you are very right. It's very specific to our country and our economy with our huge unemployment rates. Every person in our country, on average, every wage earner looks after 6 or 7 other people. So if a company decides to get rid of 100 people through automation, it has a huge impact. But how do we stay globally competitive if we don't use technology? And I think that is a fine balance that a lot of business leaders are trying to tread, is becoming more profitable, more globally competitive, while still looking after our people. And I think that is a difficult thing that I don't know if anyone is really getting it right at the moment.
Also interesting here, Johan, I must ask you about the participation of Africa in AI and the development of it. If I think of just something like social media, for instance, we enjoy social media, but we haven't really pioneered anything here on the continent. Will AI be similar?
At this stage it is. Look, we are consuming products and solutions from the so-called global north. From Europe, from China, from Northern America, and so forth. A lot of those platforms are great, but they are not relevant to Africa, to our languages, more than 3,000 languages and dialects. How many chatbots do you know that can even speak to 10% of them? Our own healthcare, our own societal issues. That's why I always advocate that we need to develop AI solutions for Africa by Africans. There are a lot of very exciting things happening. The challenge is funding and to scale it. But it is promising. Hopefully in the next few years we'll see a lot more, but we need to take control of our technological future as Africans.
You spoke of funding and scaling. Let's talk about that, Johan. Are we saying that the ideas are there, the intentionality is there, but we're not seeing enough investors moving in the direction of getting these technologies developed and, like you're saying, scaled?
Yeah, look, there's some fantastic, smart young people in our country when it comes to this technology. A lot of them are not given any access, or a lot of them don't know how to get to the right kind of audiences to get that kind of funding. Now, there are a number of really interesting incubating kind of programs, again, not at scale. So I think it's a twofold thing. On the one hand, our corporates need to start looking at onboarding some of these startup kind of AI companies without taking the 6 months it typically will take to become a bank vendor. But I also think these startups need a lot more help in order to be effective in a corporate setting, dealing with the politics, speaking in financial terms. We have the brain power. We have exciting, amazingly smart young people. But that disconnect between where they're going to get their money and their ideas is a big problem.
What's also exciting here, Johan, of course, is the potential for AI to make its way into day-to-day operations of businesses without necessarily disrupting too much, but really leading to crazy inefficiencies and really great customer experiences. Speak to us about that ability.
Yeah, look, the use cases are all over the show. The possibilities are amazing. But the end goal of automation or AI is efficiency and effectiveness. And the challenge I see is that we start with AI or automation and we start looking for the problems. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just making sure people understand their jobs better. They don't fear their jobs. You can't AI the toxic culture, bad leadership. But when it comes to especially your back office operations, your billing, your documents, your workflow, your supply chain, there's so much there that AI and automation can do. It's essentially there to alleviate people from the jobs that I think people should never have done in the first place. Later on, when we come to these large language models maturing to hyper-personalized customer experience, there's some exciting things lying ahead. My advice is just forget about AI. Don't be too excited about it. Think about the business problems you're solving for. It might just be using Excel better rather than AIing everything in your business.
Now, I must tell you, Johan, I think what scares many people, especially those who are already skilled in something, is whether they can make sure that they are reskilling and upskilling. It feels like something that, should be more easily accessible to be able to hop onto a source and make sure that, whether you're an accountant or a lawyer, a teacher, whatever the case may be, you're kind of bringing AI into your realm, barring any use cases that you might be experiencing at the office. Are there enough opportunities for people who are already, professionalized, already in careers to upskill themselves and reskill themselves in AI?
Yeah, look, unfortunately not. When it comes to corporate education, tertiary education, you can't AI the experience of an accountant that's been doing his or her work for 30 years. I mean, there's experience and insights there that you just can't AI. But to teach people who are not technically minded necessarily the basics of AI technologies, how to use it, there's a lot of things happening in that space. But I really blame, to be honest with you, the L&D departments within businesses. Mm-hmm. They're not, I think, training up the right level of people and leadership about the basics of this tech. They don't have to become machine learning engineers. But when I say AI or automation or machine learning or IoT or cloud, they should know what it's about. And they should know how to make financially sound decisions with this technology. So sadly, very, very little is happening that's making a change in that space.
And what's interesting also here, I guess, is that, if learning and development departments within corporates aren't, doing what they can, is it worth it, Johan, to sit on ChatGPT and work things out, or to sit on Claude? I prefer Claude, to sit on Claude and work things out there for yourself, trying to self-teach, similar to something like Google, for instance. Nobody really puts you through a Google search course, but we figure it out and we make use of the tool and we're very effective in it.
Yeah, but you're right. I think if you want to learn, you are going to learn. There's a lot on Udemy, a lot on YouTube, a lot that you can search for. I think if you're hungry to upskill yourself, you will find a lot of good information out there. But I think, say we take a function like HR or the legal department. There are some nuances around this technology, the ethics and so forth, that you won't easily find in a ChatGPT answer or in a Google search or in an online course. You need skilled people who work in this field, who can speak the language of these business people to teach them the things they can't Google. That's what I often say. In the information age, we shouldn't teach what can be Googled. You should teach from your experience and the failures you've seen. Now, yes, I think people should upskill as much as they can, but they need industry experts who can speak with business acumen to train them up.
And then another one, I think, that stays in our minds quite a bit, Johan, AI and ethics. It looks like a bit of a slippery slope. We're all trying to figure it out. Some things are, overtly incorrect. We know that's wrong. Nobody should do it. But the gray area, that's quite, that covers a lot of area. The perimeter there is quite large.
Yeah, look, I think with every new technology, think of when we first split the atom and we could build bombs that will destroy cities, or the same technology that can light up a city. We had to figure out what to do with it. And that's why the role of philosophers and ethicists are so important, especially in this age. I always say that the real question of ethics is, just because we can do it, should we do it? And given that there's very little regarding a legal or regulatory framework regarding this technology at the moment in most of the world, especially in our country, what do we do? And regulation is there to protect people. And this technology has the ability in the wrong hands or through the biases, if we think again of our own country, using products from the global north, not necessarily understanding our ethnicity, our diversity, our languages, that it can make real trouble. If we think of automated decisioning systems in credit, in hospitalization. So we as a society, and again, it brings it back to we as Africans should do it. What is good for us? How does it align to our values? How does it align to the future we see for our children? And what will we allow this technology to be able to do or not? But let me just conclude this answer by saying, look, the train is out of the station. We're not going to stop AI. We're not going to be able to over-regulate it, have a moratorium on it or anything. It is moving, and it's moving at a pace that we've never seen before. This conversation about ethics and AI needs to be had around tables, dinner tables, with families, in corporates, because we are all still figuring out what it is.
Well, Johan, always fascinating chatting. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Wonderful. That's Johan Steyn. He's an AI expert. And I think my favorite thing there is none of this big dream selling. Let's be very practical about what AI can and cannot do and its limitations.
You've been listening to a Power 98.7 podcast. For more podcasts, visit power987.co.za or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.